Hello everybody, welcome to Learn the Lingo. My name is Matthew, and this is the 11th video in our series in which we are learning how to read Hebrew. Today we are going to learn two new letters. We'll start with the letter Samekh, which makes the S sound. The Hebrew word for horse starts and ends with a Samekh. The first Samekh is of course on the right side of the page, and after it comes a vav with shuruk, and then comes the last Samekh. S, U, S, S, U, S, Seuss, horse. And let's move right on to the second letter for today, which is Ayin. Ayin is a silent letter, just like aleph. However, these two letters are not the same and cannot be interchanged. A word that has an ayin may be pronounced the same as a word that has an aleph in the same place, but they are completely different words. Ayin and aleph most likely had guttural sounds a long time ago, but nowadays they are both silent except in certain dialects. The word ayin itself means eye. It starts with a letter ayin under which is a patak. The letter ayin is silent, so the only thing heard here is the patak, which says ah. After that comes a yud with a hirik under it. Remember that this yud does not say e because a hirik is under it. That only happens if the hirik is under the letter before the yud, and the yud itself has no vowel marker, which this yud does. So this yud is said ya, and the hirik has its e sound by itself. And finally, we have a noon. When noon is at the end of a word, it takes this final form. N, ayin, ayin, I. If we replace the ayin in this word with an aleph, we have a word that sounds exactly the same, ayin, but this word means there is not. There are several letters in Hebrew that sound the same as other letters, but they cannot be interchanged. A word may sound the same as another, but if it is not spelled with the same letters, it is a different word. The word ayin, spelled either with an aleph or an ayin, as well as several other Hebrew words, can be contracted, which means get shorter in sound. The way this happens is the vowel markers patak and hirik are removed and replaced with a tsere under the letter the patak was under. This word is now pronounced silent aleph, tsere, which makes the a sound, and the next letter of this word is the yud, and this yud no longer makes a ya consonant sound. This is because the yud does not have a vowel marker on it, which means this yud is instead representing the tsere's a sound. So all this is just a, and then we have the final noon once again, which makes the n sound. Ain. It still means there is not, it is just a contracted version of it. Before we learned that if the letter chet is at the end of a word and the vowel before it is not an ah sound, then the chet must take a patak, and the patak sound will be pronounced before the chet sound, like ak. The same thing happens with ayin. If ayin is at the end of a word and the last vowel in the word is not an ah sound, then the ayin also must have a patak. Technically, the patak makes its sound before the ayin makes its sound, but of course ayin is silent, and so there's not really any difference. An example of this is the Hebrew word for to travel, which is 5 letters long. The first syllable is these first 2 letters, which is lamed, which says la, a hirik under that, which says e, and a noon, which makes the n sound. Under the noon is a shva, which means that this syllable is over. So this syllable is lean, and then we have a samekh, which says s, and then a vav with a cholam, which says o, and finally the ayin with a patak under it at the end of the word, which say ah, lean soa, to travel. Let's see another word that has an ayin, amud, which means pillar. This word starts with a letter ayin and the ayin has a patak under it, which says ah. Then comes a letter mem, which makes the sound. Next is a letter vav with shuruk, which says u. And finally is a dalet, which makes the d sound. Amud. Amud. Pillar. Way back when we learned the letter vav, we learned that we could put a dot on the side of it called a shuruk to make it make the u sound. Back in that lesson, I said that there was another vowel marker that made the u sound without a vav, and we're going to learn that now. This vowel marker is called the qubutz, and it is 3 diagonal dots that go under a letter, and which makes the u sound just like the shuruk with a vav. So the word amud can be spelled without a vav like this. We put a qubutz under the letter mem to make the u sound, and we go straight to the letter dalet at the end after the mem. Duh. Amud. Amud. It's the same word, just spelled without a vav. In modern Hebrew, it's pretty rare to see the o and u sounds spelled without a vav, but in biblical Hebrew, it's very common to spell the o vowel without a vav, as well as the u sound, though biblical Hebrew does use vav more with the u sound. In review, today we learned the letter Samekh, which makes the s sound, and the letter Ayin, which is silent. We learned that if ayin is at the end of a word and the vowel before it is not an ah sound, then the ayin must take a patak. And we also learned the vowel marker kubutz, which is a way to make the u sound without using a vav. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and turning on notifications so you can know when I make a new video. Also, I would really appreciate it if you gave this video a like and shared it with your friends who you think would like to learn Hebrew. Goodbye.